Happy morning, children. Today we are going to start with accessory glands associated with female reproductive system, and one such gland is mammary gland. In the previous video we had studied about lesser vestibular glands, greater vestibular glands. Those are also accessory glands, and mammary glands are also one of them, right? So what are mammary glands? These are actually modified sweat glands and are also called as breasts. Okay, these are paired structures and they are present even in male. But in male they are present in rudimentary form. They are vestigial. They are non-functional. Okay, these breasts or the mammary glands remain undeveloped until puberty. With the onset of puberty, they start to develop under the influence of hormones, estrogen and progesterone, about which we'll study afterwards. Right? So let us see what type of structure it is if it is seen externally. So externally it has a projection. You can see this is the projection, right? And this projection is called as nipple. This nipple is surrounded by a circular pigmented area. Circular pigmented area means, if suppose this is the nipple, so around nipple the area appears, there is a round area, circular area, which appears to be a bit darker in color, right? So that deeply pigmented area of skin around nipple is called as areola. Internally, it has three types of tissues. Glandular tissue, definitely they are involved in the secretion of milk. Fibrous tissue, which are for protection, which are for support, and adipose tissue, the fatty tissue, right? So glandular tissue comprises of 15 to 20 mammary lobes, right? So if you see the structure, these circular structure, this is one mammary lobe, this is another mammary lobe, this is another mammary lobe, this is another mammary lobe, right? So glandular tissue comprises of 15 to 20 mammary lobes, and inside each mammary lobe there are clusters, there are a large number of grape-like clusters of milk secreting structures called alveoli, right? So inside, suppose this is one mammary lobe, so inside the mammary lobe there are clusters of small spherical grape-like structures. These are called as alveoli, and within these alveoli only milk is produced, right? One such alveoli we had read in lungs, and what was the function? There also it was a small spherical space, and there it was for oxygen, and here it is for secretion of milk, right? From each alveoli, what happens in alveoli? Milk is produced inside these alveoli, and from each alveoli arises very small tubules, milk carrying very small tubes called as mammary tubules, right? So very fine, very minute tubules arise from all these alveoli, which carry the milk from the alveoli, and those tubules means because they are smaller than tube, so those tubules are called as mammary tubules. Okay, now so many mammary tubules join to form a larger tube called as mammary duct. So you can see in this diagram here, this is the mammary duct. So many tubules, they ultimately join together to form mammary duct. The mammary ducts join and then they expand just near the nipple to form a structure called as mammary ampulla. Okay, so all the mammary tubules, they join together and they get expanded. They form an expanded structure just in front of the nipple. Expanded मतलब फूला हुआ, ठीक है. So they form expanded structure just in front of the structure nipple, and what this expanded structure is called, this is called as ampulla. Right? And what is the function of ampulla? Here milk is stored temporarily. Right? From ampulla arises small milk carrying ducts called lactiferous ducts. Right? So very small ducts are arising from ampulla and they are opening over the nipple. Right? So what these ducts are called? Those are called lactiferous ducts. They carry the milk, right, and they open onto the nipple. That means from alveoli, milk passes to mammary tubules. From mammary tubules, it goes to mammary duct. From mammary duct, it goes to ampulla. From ampulla, it passes to lactiferous ducts, and then it opens. From there only the milk is sucked out, right? So this breast is called as accessory gland because it is actually helping in the process of reproduction, right? And in at the end of this chapter we'll study the hormones which are associated with the development of these mammary glands, right? Now, gametogenesis, the process of formation of gametes. Which gametes? Male gametes and female gamete. We know that in case of human, male gamete is called as sperm, female gamete is called as egg or ovum. So formation of sperm is spermatogenesis, formation of egg or ova is oogenesis. Where does spermatogenesis occur? It occurs in the testis. And where does oogenesis occur? In the ovary, right? So spermatogenesis, the process of formation of sperm, undoubtedly it is taking place in the testis, but at in which part of the testis? So that part is seminiferous tubule of the testis, right? So if you see the diagram of the testis, we had discussed that inside each testis there are testicular lobules, and inside testicular lobules there are seminiferous tubules. So inside those seminiferous tubules actually is the formation of sperm. Why? Because these seminiferous tubules are lined by a type of epithelium called as germinal epithelium. And this germinal epithelium is made up of two types of cells, male germ cells and Sertoli cells. Male germ cells, they are cuboidal, they are large in number, and Sertoli cells, they are tall and they are lesser in number. And these male germ cells only are precursors of sperms. It is these male germ cells which form the male gamete, which form the sperm, and the Sertoli cells are actually nurse cells. They feed the developing sperms. Okay, so let's study something more about spermatogenesis. Spermatogenesis includes two phases. First, formation of spermatid, and number two, formation of spermatozoa. What is the difference between spermatid and spermatozoa? Spermatids are non-motile. Non-motile matlab they cannot move. Okay, and so in another process, after these non-motile spermatids are developed, they get transformed into motile spermatozoa or motile sperms. So let us have a look over the process of formation of spermatids. Right. The undifferentiated cells which line the seminiferous tubule, they are called as male germ cells. They only are called as spermatogonia. And what is their ploidy? They are diploid. Okay, so male germ cells, as you were already told, that these are the precursors of sperms. So these male germ cells, they are undifferentiated, right? They are also called as spermatogonia. And what is their ploidy? They are diploid. These male germ cells, they undergo mitosis. Mitosis, you know, is a division which increases the number of cells, right? So this mitosis, this division of male germ cells starts at sexual maturity with the onset of puberty, right? And as a result of which, male germ cells produce a large number of cells of their own kind, called as spermatogonia, right? In case of reference books, elementary biology, it is mentioned that these spermatogonia are of two types: type A spermatogonia and type B spermatogonia, right? So type A spermatogonia act as stem cells. Stem cells means they divide and produce more of their own kind. And type B spermatogonia actually grow and differentiate into primary spermatocyte, right? So let me make this point more clear. Out of these spermatogonia produced, some of them keep dividing and adding more of spermatogonia, and some grow and develop into primary spermatocyte to initiate the process of sperm formation. And what is the ploidy of primary spermatocyte? It is diploid. This primary spermatocyte undergoes first maturation division, first meiosis, and the product of first maturation division are secondary spermatocytes. So one primary spermatocyte produces how many secondary spermatocytes? 2. And what is the ploidy of secondary spermatocyte? They are haploid, because we all know that first meiosis is reductional division. There only the number of chromosome is reduced to half. Secondary spermatocytes then undergo second maturation division of meiosis, right? And each secondary spermatocyte produces 2 spermatids, and they are also haploid. Why? Because this second maturation division is equational. It is equivalent to mitosis, right? Do not get confused. Do not think that here also the number of chromosome will be reduced to half, then it will become n by 2, which is not possible, right? So first maturation division is reductional, second maturation division is equational, as a result of which one primary spermatocyte produces 4 spermatids, and all the spermatids are haploid, right? These spermatids, just like any other cell, they have a nucleus, they have cytoplasm, they have Golgi bodies, they have mitochondria. Okay, all the cellular details present inside a cell are also present inside a spermatid, but what is the difference? These are non-motile. Now, these spermatids then get transformed into motile sperms or motile spermatozoa, and this process is called as spermiogenesis. These spermatids, non-motile spermatids, then get transformed into motile sperms or spermatozoa, and the process is called as spermiogenesis. I will explain how this occurs. Okay, and the sperm head, once the sperms are formed, their head gets embedded in the Sertoli cells to obtain nutrition, and then finally they are released from seminiferous tubules, and this process is called as spermiation. Okay, so see this diagram given in NCERT book. This is germinal epithelium. Okay, these are spermatogonium. Spermatogonium divides and produces primary spermatocyte. Primary spermatocyte produces secondary spermatocyte. Secondary spermatocyte produces spermatids. Spermatids are non-motile structures, and finally these spermatids get transformed into motile sperms and their heads get embedded in the Sertoli cells, tall pillar-like cells, so that they can obtain nutrition from it. Okay. Now, hormonal control. We all know that spermatogenesis begins with the onset of puberty. So, what actually happens with the onset of puberty? You know, with the onset of puberty, there is release of hormones, sex hormones. And because of those sex hormones only, formation of sperm starts. So, hypothalamus releases a hormone GnRH. What is the full form? Gonadotropin releasing hormone. Hypothalamus releases gonadotropin releasing hormones, and these GnRH stimulate anterior lobe of pituitary, right? As a result of which, after stimulation, anterior lobe of pituitary releases gonadotropins. Gonadotropins is the general name for the hormones. Which hormones? Which stimulate gonads. Gonads means the sex organs, testis and ovary. So, anterior lobe of pituitary on stimulation by GnRH releases gonadotropins, and two categories of gonadotropins are luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone. Luteinizing hormone or LH, right? Follicle stimulating hormone or FSH. This luteinizing hormone is also called as ICSH, interstitial cells stimulating hormone. Everything is hidden in the name only. You don't need to remember anything extra. Luteinizing hormone or LH, its other name is interstitial cell stimulating hormone, right? I'll explain later on why is it also called ICSH. Now, what is the function of LH? LH acts on Leydig cells. Do remember, where are these Leydig cells present? In between the spaces outside seminiferous tubules. And Leydig cells are also called as interstitial cells, right? So, Leydig cell, luteinizing hormone acts on Leydig cells. Got it? And why is it called as interstitial cell stimulating hormone? Because it acts on interstitial cells and stimulates them to secrete testosterone, right? Interstitial cell stimulating hormone नाम क्यों पड़ा? क्योंकि ये stimulate करता है. किसको stimulate करता है? Interstitial cells को. And what are interstitial cells? They are nothing but Leydig cells, right? So, on stimulation, Leydig cells secrete androgen, male androgen, and one such male androgen is testosterone. Got it? And what is the function of this testosterone? It stimulates spermatogenesis, the process of formation of sperms. And not only this, it even stimulates development of secondary sexual characteristics in male. Secondary sexual characters in male, what are the examples? Growth of facial hair, beard, mustache, growth of pubic hair in the lower part of the body, growth of underarm hair, right? And change in the pitch of the voice, okay, broadening of shoulders. So these are some examples of secondary sexual characters, and they begin to develop with the release of testosterone. Okay, likewise, follicle cell stimulating hormone or FSH acts on Sertoli cells. Sertoli cells, nerve cells, providing nutrition to the sperm. In addition to providing nutrition to the sperm, these Sertoli cells even secrete two groups of hormones. Androgen binding protein, ABP, androgen binding protein, and inhibin, right? What is the function of androgen binding protein? It concentrates testosterone in the seminiferous tubule. देखो टेस्टोस्टेरोन सिक्रीट करता है लिडिक सेल्स, राइट, और लिडिक सेल्स कहाँ है, सेमिनिफेरस ट्यूब्यूल के बाहर है, राइट, और टेस्टोस्टेरोन को स्पर्मेटोजेनेसिस कंट्रोल करना है, और कहाँ स्पर्मेटोजेनेसिस हो रहा है, सेमिनिफेरस ट्यूब्यूल के अंदर हो रहा है, राइट. तो that is the function of androgen binding protein. It concentrates testosterone inside the seminiferous tubule so that it could stimulate spermatogenesis. Okay, and another category of hormone inhibin, as the name suggests, it suppresses the synthesis of FSH. Actually it directly acts, it has a feedback effect on hypothalamus. It suppresses hypothalamus so that hypothalamus will not release. जैसे inhibin release होगा, it will act on hypothalamus. Hypothalamus will not release GnRH. In absence of GnRH, there will be no stimulation of pituitary, and in absence of pituitary, in absence of stimulation of pituitary, there will be no release of the hormones and no spermatogenesis. It will stop for some time period. Right, so this is actually a feedback control, a negative feedback to control the process of spermatogenesis. Okay, so thank you children. In the next class we'll study about oogenesis, process of formation of eggs.